Oh, there it is. Brave.
Easy. Ever fuck. How many of these courses do you do a year? Or
I do like between 10 to 11. I do pretty much one a month, except for I usually take either a month or 2 months off.
sure. All right. What about Kalen's? Do you
He's
know or
he's way
no
more
idea?
random. Maybe like two
Yeah.
months a year. Yeah, yeah. He's always off and on.
All right.
Yeah,
All right. Because yeah, I probably want to do it again, like after a few months or something. What do you
yeah,
think
dude.
about that?
Yeah, it's perfect. I have students who come back like every year or like every 6 months or something like that.
Sure.
And I think that's really nice. That's a really good strategy. Because after like 6 months or a year, like they usually get better, and then there's like, more of like trying to find ways to continuously get better,
Yeah.
and then I like to see the progress. I had one student take my class 3 years in a row, and and he would take my class 2 or 3 times within each year. And
Sure.
yeah, now he's been pretty good. And I had another student, she was doing the same thing, and she's also doing pretty good now.
All right.
Yeah, I think most
Yeah.
people can achieve some sort of they get closer and closer if they do all the homework that I suggest, right?
Sure.
Um, Within about 2 to 3 years, I think people will achieve kind of the ambitions that they were hoping for.
Sure. Sure. That's good. Yeah. I definitely want to do it again. Like
Oh, yeah?
my girlfriend's the one that keeps telling me, "No, you're doing it again."
Oh, really?
Yeah.
How come?
Just because I work a lot more.
Oh, yeah, you got a lot more work done.
Well, actually, I'm working a lot more now because I'm not working. I'm just doing this. I'm
Oh, wow.
yeah.
Is your girlfriend an
So
artist?
no, not at all.
Oh,
But
she just
yeah,
supports you.
yeah. And I said last year I quit my graphic designer job, moved here, and I said I'm not going back to graphic design. Just
Cool.
focusing until I get, a job as a concept artist or something.
Yeah, dude. It's
Yeah,
totally reasonable.
nice man. All right.
Yeah, your girlfriend's a keeper. She supports you through all this.
Oh yeah. She's the one. Yeah. She's the
Yeah,
one that pushes me harder than me even.
yeah, that's good. That's how my wife is. When I was, I always talk about this. Like when I was first starting out, she was there with me the whole time, and
Yeah.
so I'm very fortunate because I obviously got really popular, you know,
Yeah.
and so it's something that I talk about sometimes, which is that you know, like I have some friends who are stuck in this problem, who because they're extremely well known,
Yeah.
sometimes the relationships that they have with people aren't genuine, right?
Sure.
Or there's a chance that they're not genuine, you know. So they have to work
Yeah.
extra hard to find someone who is actually there for them, which is something I'll hopefully never have to experience.
Yeah. Yeah, it sucks.
Yeah, if you're with someone who's like cool with you being shitty, that's great, you know. And
Yeah. Yeah.
because then when you start to become epic, then um, you know you can really trust that they're there for you. Yeah, don't become an asshole.
Yeah.
That can
Yeah.
happen too. The guy at Minecraft, Notch.
Yeah.
I think that's what happened to him. He was with his wife um, for years before he made Minecraft, and then Minecraft obviously blew up, and then he became more wealthy, had more access to more people, you know,
Yeah. And
and
then
so he
he,
started acting differently, yeah. And then she started commenting on it, and he was just like, "Well, fuck you." And I think they got a divorce and they separated. I could be wrong. Maybe this is fake news, but there was a moment where he did a lot of these tweets, and he was talking about how like he lost all his friends, and like everyone keeps asking him for money, and he doesn't know who to trust anymore. He was feeling really depressed. And then
yeah.
another like millionaire billionaire wrote him, was like, oh, it'll pass. Like what? Like this is just a common thing that millionaires go through. They just lose all their friends and shit.
Yeah, I think I saw that.
Yeah,
He was depressed and shit. Yeah.
yeah. He was like in his 20 or 90 or like $70 million home, partying with celebrities, and he was super depressed. And this is like, yeah, it's not.
That's very stupid.
Yeah. Well, I
I
mean, it's
mean,
not stupid that he's depressed. It's stupid that he became an asshole.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah. I believe that that's actually a genuine problem that could happen, where if you acquire a lot of wealth and fame in a short amount of time, that could
yeah.
lead to really epic mental instability or instability. I'm sorry, not instability. Um,
Yeah, that's actually something I worry about. That's why that's why when I make money, when I'm able to make like money, I just donate some to somewhere. Usually it's to the same place. Just feels bad to have a lot, you know.
yeah.
And my girlfriend has the same issue, so it's just every time we have like I don't know, we did 3 months of farm because we had to for the visa extension here. So
Uh-huh.
I worked like 12 hours day shift like for 3 months. So I did a fairly good amount of money,
Wow.
and then just give away some just not to feel like an asshole.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I give donations here and there, mostly to causes that I believe in.
Yeah,
But anywho, yeah, like if you look at like Bill Gates, for instance, like him and his wife been together since the beginning.
yeah,
He's pretty stable,
and they give
stable
ninety
individual.
percent of their wealth supposedly.
Absolutely, because they're super stable. They like he's not a fucking tool, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah,
I love myself some Bill Gates, dude. Bill Gates is great. Elon,
yeah.
he, he
Elon
he
Musk, yeah,
he has this problem though of finding the right lady. She's already super popular, and he doesn't have any. Like he was married to somebody, but not anymore. Um, and you can tell a lot of these women are. There was this actress Amber Heard, gorgeous, but I don't think she was there for the right reasons.
sure,
She was just in love with Elon Musk, not the person.
yeah,
So I don't think
yeah.
you'll ever have to worry about that. For
Nah,
most of you guys, like I don't think become like as famous as I may be, it's really like nothing compared to like Justin Bieber, you know, or some of these other people. Like I'm like the kind of famous that if I go to like an art event, like a lot of people will be like, "Hey, I know you. Like, can I have a picture with you? Can I talk with you?" You know, and it's really fun and it's really endearing, and I feel very welcome and I love it every time it happens. But then, yeah, but then I go home and like nobody knows who I am.
yeah,
I go to a supermarket and nobody gives a fuck about me, and that's how I like
yeah,
it. I like it like
yeah.
that.
The good amount of famous,
Yeah,
which
like it's cool
because
to have fans and people that admire you for what you do. That's really great. It's really flattering, but not all the time, right? Like I can imagine what would it be like to be like a really epic celebrity. I mean, that
yeah,
I can see that being extremely overwhelming. Here's a good example, and then we'll take another question. So we saw Manny Pacquiao at the Philippines when I was there.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it was cool, man. And Manny Pacquiao, I've never been starstruck. I've seen a lot of different celebrities before in my life, and never have I been starstruck. Until now, where I really felt like blinded by his beauty. Um, just kidding. Well, I was just like not blinded by his beauty, but I was just kind of like, damn, that's crazy. And I think I was trying to think about why, and I think one of the reasons why is because he's Manny Pacquiao. Like he's not just like popular because of something really simple. He's
Yeah.
he's popular for being one of the best boxers of his time. You know,
Yeah.
and it's like if I were to see Muhammad Ali or something like that, or Michael Jordan, like a legend, right?
Yeah.
It'd be the same feeling that I would have if I ever met Sid Mead, I'm sure, right? And
Yeah.
so it was more of like genuine admiration at its highest. But anyway, like so he comes into the meeting room where we're all at, and my friends are like, dude, that's Manny Pacquiao, and they're flipping out, I'm flipping out, and Manny just walking through. He's saying hi to everybody, taking pictures with everybody. He just walks up to him, and he's smiling, shaking hands, taking pictures. And as he's circling around, you know, people were like, "Hey, do a speech, Manny," and he's like, "Okay." So he went on stage. He's like, "Thank you for coming to Comic-Con Asia 2018. Bye." And he just gets off the stage and he continues taking pictures, walking through the crowd, and it was amazing. And and then and then he left, right? Like he just literally walked in and out. It was like for 10 minutes, and we were all like especially my friends were like all like, high off of his on meeting him, and I was just like, oh, dude, like, how like when we go to work and like, and I was talking to my friend Rob because he works at Blizzard. Is like, how it's like when we go to work and we're working at Blizzard. Well, you still do, I don't, but like when I was there, like, and you're in a meeting and you're talking about like StarCraft 3. There's no StarCraft 3. I'm just making that up. But you get my point. Like, that this is incredibly powerful, and a lot of people, when they find out, they're gonna lose their shit, right? It's gonna be amazing. But we're like having a day by day meeting. We're just like, whatever, what are you having for lunch, man? You know?
Yeah.
I'm more excited about what we're gonna have for lunch than adding the new design of Zerglings. Not to say that I'm not excited entirely. I'm just kind of making a point here. You become jaded, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was like, that's just your day by day. And it's like, yeah, what about that? And I was like, well, that's like what happened right now with Manny Pacquiao. Like Manny Pacquiao walking through this crowd of people, like loving him, smiling and taking pictures and wanting to shake his hand and be next to him is like his day in the office. Like he's just like, okay, cool, whatever. Take my pictures. And then as soon as he walks out, he's like back on his phone. Like, what are we going to go? What do we have for dinner? you know? And I was like, that's such a trip that that's like for us, like us simple people, like this is one of the most historic and epic moments that we've had in our day, But for him, he's just in another board meeting, and it's just like that scale of prestige is something that I hope I don't really ever get to, because I don't like it. I like that when I go to um, like to these events, these cons and stuff, and I meet artists, like that's my favorite part, But it doesn't happen so often that it does make him jaded. I'm just like, all right, more people to just talk to, right? Like I feel happy and I feel welcomed every time. And maybe one day I will be highly incredibly popular with my game dev stuff. That's more likely to happen with that than just my artwork, right? But when that happens, I'm gonna try to remember everything I'm saying now, because I don't want to fall into that trap, because I think you lose quality of life.
I'll show you this recorded class if you become an asshole.
Yeah, man. All right. Any other questions?
Yes.
Yes. Well, go on, Jared. Go.
Yeah, you said it first.
Okay. I really don't mind, but okay. So my question is,
Wrong.
I'm 26. It's correct. I'm 26.
No, that's wrong.
So I was wondering, I have a year to go of college after this year, so I'll finish in 2019. Yeah, 2019.
Cool.
And I'll be 27.
Wrong.
No, I'm very good at maths, I promise. And so I was wondering if that would be too late to start looking at getting a junior position in game dev companies.
It is. There's an age gap. You have to be at least 18 to 25 to work in the game industry.
Really?
No, that's crazy.
Because, well, I'll tell you why I asked this. And
Okay.
I was listening to an interview where a whole bunch of artists were talking. I actually, funny enough, stumbled upon an interview with you and all the other people from ArtStation, which is pretty cool. But the one guy said that they don't like hiring older-ish people because when it comes to the younger people who are already art directors and stuff giving feedback and orders to the juniors that are older than them, it gets a bit awkward and they don't really like to look for that kind of situation. And but this was just his opinion of what he experienced once. No, it wasn't in that exact interview.
Oh, okay. I was like, if I heard that in person, I would have disputed it immediately.
Okay, cool.
Because
And
that's just objectively wrong.
Right.
It's not even actually true.
And my real question is, what age did you start?
Oh, I got into the industry maybe when I was 26, I think.
Really?
Oh no, let me rephrase that. Actually, like 24. Sorry, I did my math wrong. Honestly, I'm not good at math.
I'm better at math. Just
yeah,
kidding.
I
can't like do trig.
And so, and that's when I started to get like my real big jobs. Yeah, 24. No, actually, that's not even true. Yeah, 27 is when I got my first real big jobs. I think. Yeah, that's about right.
Okay.
So who said this? Rat them out. This is public domain, right?
I don't really want to, but
was it public domain? Was it?
It was. Yeah, it was. It was okay, Evan Amunson.
Oh, Evan. Oh,
yeah.
Evan. I love that guy too.
Yeah, he's the shit. But
yeah, he's wrong though. Evan's wrong, and I'll tell him to his face. and he would have to agree because he's not stupid. Meaning that I can dispute him, and then he'll be like, "Oh, yeah, that makes sense." For one, Evan is young himself. So what does he know? Let me see. How old is Evan? I wonder if Evan has his birthday on Facebook.
Age exposed.
Yeah, 34, man. And I'm still getting plenty of work.
Fair enough, but you're in like a very senior position.
So that's going to be the point that I'm going to make it about Evan. 1988. What? He's not even that much younger. He's 4 years younger than I am. All right. So maybe it's just some insecurities. So let me ask you a question. When you see this piece of artwork, do you think it's of quality?
I'd definitely say better quality than mine.
Sure. Like if you were applying for a job and he was applying for a job, would you say that he might beat you out? I mean, to be clear, he beat me out too. Okay.
Okay.
So don't feel too insecure about that. Right?
Yeah.
I thought I followed this guy. You don't? Dude, look at him. Clean shaven. He used to have super long hair when I knew him. He's growing up. Pretty good, right?
Right.
Now, if I do my math right, I think he's 30 now too, Danny. But when
Okay.
he first started getting his jobs, he was 20 or 21, I think. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But the reality was, when we were looking at his work, nowhere did you feel that age mattered, did it? Like, when you look at this, you're not saying, man, this is amazing, but how old is he?
Mm.
Right? That's just not how people think. Okay. Now, if you're like old and senile, that's just how you are. Then that's going to be a problem. Not because you happen to be old, it's because you're senile. And being old
Yeah.
is a symptom of senileness, right? But if you're old but young and spry, right? Like if you're really like, for instance, I believe David, he's not in the class right now, so he can't speak for himself. He's older than all of us, but like he takes direction really well, right? Like
Mm.
if his work was incredibly good, you know, I don't think it would be an issue. You get my point?
Yeah.
In fact, I think the older people become, the more worldly they are, the more wise they are, right? Because they have a more stronger understanding of real life. But it's not entirely true for all young people or old people. It's not entirely true that all young people are arrogant and naive. But it's just
Mm.
more likely to be true. Okay, right? There's a reason why, I don't know what happened with the human or English language or just definitions in general, right? Regardless of whatever language. I don't know what
Mm-hmm.
happened where people just started distorting the way that words are used, right? Like, for instance, people look at generalizations inherently as a bad thing, right? Like, you shouldn't generalize. You hear that all the time.
Yeah.
But generalization is not inherently bad nor good. It's just a reality that
Mm.
it's like, generally speaking, um, more men have more testosterone. Generally speaking, more women have more estrogen, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that all women cannot have more testosterone to build muscle, for instance, at a better rapid rate, right? And it doesn't mean that all men aren't capable of having empathy and sympathy for other people because of the low estrogen, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a generalization, like stereotypes. Stereotypes, again, aren't inherently wrong. They're just true about large populations, right? And so I understand what he would say is that, more older people might have a certain thing. That's a generalization, but it's not inherently wrong to believe that. But it's definitely wrong to think that studios are biased that way. That is where people usually, when they focus on generalization, that's usually where it's wrong, right? If you walk in through that door and you happen to have a gray hair in your head, and I'm like, oh, you know what? Never mind. Like, there's no need to see this person's portfolio. That is genuine discrimination, right? You haven't even
Yeah.
given this person a chance, right? Or if the person barely has pubes and they come in the door, you have the same reaction, right? And that's why
Yeah.
I think about art in our industry specifically, that just doesn't happen. It doesn't, like, and if it does, like, don't work for those motherfuckers anyways. Okay? Like, you don't want to work for people that are shallow, that focus on surface details, right?
Yeah.
And anyway, even if they're a huge company, and luckily most of the big companies aren't that way. That's why they're huge. That's why they have some of the best employees of all walks of life, because it's good for business to not discriminate. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
Like, if you happen to be fucking 60 years old, but you're one of the greatest artists to walk this earth, how fucking stupid would I be as a business owner to not hire you if I had the chance? Right?
Yeah. Pretty stupid.
Yeah, pretty stupid. It's bad business to discriminate.
Mm.
That's why I kind of laughed at some arguments from the left. I find myself center left politically, with center being emphasized more than left. But when they say that like companies are inherently racist or discriminatory, right? And just because they have high populations of one demographic, I was like, I don't think so. I think it just happens to be how the chips fall. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And some colleges and schools are the same way, right? So, for instance, in some colleges in California, they would give you an advantage if you happen to be a minority, especially a minority black. They would give you higher test scores, um, and they would help you out. And this is called affirmative action. And
Yeah.
now I'm against affirmative action. I explain to you why. Because I understand their intention. Their intention is to help those who are underprivileged, because a lot of African Americans are really underprivileged. It fucking sucks. I know this. I'm half black. I have half my family is like poorly educated, and a majority of them are incarcerated or have done time. Not my dad though. My dad found a way out, right? But I have uncles and cousins who are serving jail time, so I know this pretty well. But even them, I would say, don't give them extra fucking credit just because they happen to be poor. Just give them more access, right? And this is where the left part comes into place. You know, universal income, universal education, universal healthcare. You need to have all three. That's how you help those in poverty. You give them a way out, right? They might not have a head start, right? Like Ivanka Trump, who's born fucking rich, or Donald Trump, right? They might not have a head start. Like my children will have a head start. You know, my dad didn't have a head start, but he gave me a head start, and now I'm giving my kids even a bigger head start. You know,
Yeah.
my dad broke the chains, and so what affirmative action was doing was stuff like, yeah, like, well, look, there's very low attendance in Black Americans. We need to do everything in our power to give them more access. So we'll give them more points in their SATs. And what ended up happening is there's higher dropout rates in this field because these people aren't qualified. They shouldn't be there. They didn't earn it. You know, you don't just give people access just because of what they are. You give them access because of what they can do. You know, and the art industry is very merit-based. There's no affirmative action in art or tech, and so there's this like, for instance, Blizzard is like 70% men, right? But no one would ever claim that Blizzard is misogynistic, sexist, any of that, because they're not. There's like 60% white men at Blizzard, but they're not racist. They're not misogynistic. You know, how could they be? They hired me, Black Korean. You know, they have one of the best illustrator is Laura Austin. You know, they just happened to hire Laura Austin not because they had to fill a quota of female employees, but because she's a fucking badass. She's one of the best illustrators in the world. Do you understand me? Yeah. Like, it's not because she's a chick. It's because she's actually fucking dope. And I talked to her about it once, and she was telling me, like, she gets really uncomfortable whenever, like, she goes to these events because she always talks, right? Because she's fucking dope. And she's always talking. And there will always be, like, one feminist that will go into line and say, don't you feel bad that you're not doing more to help women get their, like, get their careers boosted in the industry? And she doesn't know how to answer that because she feels that if you deserve to be at a company, you should earn it. That's how she feels. But she also understands that, yeah, there is a kind of a topsy-turvy boys club only feeling, right? But she never felt discriminated against. She never felt, you know, treated differently. She'd been treated with nothing but respect, right? And I was like, exactly right, because that's how it should be. You know, and if it just happens to be that more of one type of person happens to be here, you know, then we have to start earlier. We have to make young girls more interested in video games, however we can. Well, not necessarily video games, because actually women take up the majority of users. Did you know that?
Overwatch.
Yeah, well, not even Overwatch. I mean, like mobile games. Women play more mobile games than they do. They just don't play games like Overwatch or Call of Duty, these types of games. So anyway, so this age thing is the same thing. It's the same fucking thing. Nobody's fucking going out of the way in our industry looking for young, spry individuals. Maybe in illustration, because I know Evan works in illustration mostly, and I can't speak to illustration because I hardly do it. But maybe what he've experienced, because if you've ever met Evan, Evan's really fucking smart guy. But he also he's very opinionated, and he's not a very agreeable person. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Meaning that, like, and there's nothing wrong with any of that. That's just who he is. Okay. Me and him are close friends. I'm very agreeable, but I'm also very opinionated, and I think that's where common ground is. So we have strong opinions, right? But I'm very agreeable. I try to find common ground as fast as possible. Okay, where he might not give a fuck.
Yeah.
You know, and that's why him and I, whenever we argue, it's a fun time. And so I would have argued in his face this too, because he's just wrong. He's just wrong. He's just there's no it's not overwhelming. I was talking to somebody online about the same thing. Like, he was like, "Oh man, I'm sick and tired of these social justice warriors and all this stuff." And he's like, "Men are suffering, dude." And I was like, well, you have to ask yourself a question: are men really suffering? Like, don't conflate one issue for another issue, you know, because you might be over exaggerating too. He's like, the problem that I see with social justice warriors, I was explaining with him, was it's not that there's no bearing, right? We were talking about the affirmative action stuff, right? Like, black people are underprivileged and suffer in America, you know, at a higher rate than any other minority. It's just a fact, right?
Yeah.
So there's merit to that argument. But and I was trying to explain to him, I was like, like, these people are fighting for something. They're not entirely fucking crazy. You just got to find the common ground, right? And I told him, I was like, the issue that I have usually with the most extreme social justice warriors is that they over exaggerate on the other side, right? Which ironically makes them racist and sexist too. I once was told that I couldn't have an opinion because I was a man from a feminist. And I said to her, do you realize that what you just said is actually sexist? You're saying because of my gender, I can't ever understand. It's like, how would you feel if I said the same thing? Like, you would lose your fucking shit if I said the same thing.
She hit the wall.
Yeah, it's like, I think you forgot what, like, feminism is supposed to be. Feminism wasn't about women are better. Feminism was about equality, like women's right to vote, women's ability to have access to high status jobs, women's ability to, not be treated incredibly differently because of their gender. Like, most decent people agree with this, you know? It's like, but you can't fucking go full tilt, girl. Like, calm the hell down. You know? You're going backwards. You're overcorrecting. And I told him that that's what he needed to realize, that those are outliers. That's why I don't usually waste a breath with these people. They're actually not the majority. Most people.
Yeah, I steer clear like the plague.
Yeah, like, it's like, just like when people assume, like, look, Nazis, told you, racism is rampant. It's in the streets. And I'm like, it's not, dude. Like, there's not a lot of Nazis, man. There just isn't. There are some. I was shocked that there was more than like a dozen. Okay, but there's not millions. That's just not true. And so, you just got to focus on that. And the reality is, there's plenty of old people that get hired, like really old people, like Sid Mead, you know. And then there's old people who can get jobs at junior levels. There's the one equalizer that trumps all your sex, your race, your cultural background, your religious background. There's one thing that trumps it all, and that's quality of work. And as long as you're a decent human being, regardless of your belief systems, like, you can be, like, one of my best friends, he's a Christian evangelist, meaning, like, he is, like, whenever he talks about Jesus, he cries. Like, he loves it, you know? But this is one of my closest friends. I would die for this person if I had to, you know? When I had my brain surgery, he was one of the few people who came.
What?
Yeah, I had like a tumor removed, right? He was one of the very few people, only a handful of people came and helped me during that time. Like, he helped watch my kids. And then he came and he prayed for me, right? I'm an atheist, so I don't believe in any of this bullshit, right? But I kept that to myself. I wasn't gonna be like, how dare you? You know?
Yeah.
Because that's not what a decent person does. He's not doing anything wrong. He's there for me. He's praying for me. That's his way of trying to make me feel better. And it did make me feel better, you know? And so that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't mind that he's a Christian. I don't care. It doesn't matter to me, even if I believe it's ridiculous, you know? I don't ever tell him that because I think that would be rude, you know? Because he's a good person. He's a good friend. That's how people should be, right? Like, that's how people should treat each other. They should just, like, respect each other's boundaries, you know? And so in our industry, you won't experience that. You will not experience this incredible like bias to age or gender or whatever. There might be, I can't speak for every single studio. I'm sure there still is examples of this, right? I'm almost certain there is. Okay. But I've never seen it. Okay.
Okay.
And if I talk to some of my female friends who work in the industry and they don't see it either. They see it outside the industry, which, you know, I can't speak to that. Right. Like one of my friends, she's very attractive. So she gets messages like a shit ton, but she's okay with it because she understands kind of like the circumstances. It's never too bad. Sometimes it's really bad. She reports it, but usually it's just people adoring her and wishing that they could, you know, talk with her in real life and real creep stuff, but mostly harmless. But she's actually she understands it because she does a lot of cosplay and it's really like sexual. So she's not like, what? How dare you? You know, like she understands it. She's not oblivious or naive. But at the same time, doesn't give people free passes to try to touch her or expose her in any negative way. But my point is that, yeah, I talked to her about it, and within the industry, she doesn't see it. Right? Most people, she loves it. She loves working at the industry. But I've talked to a couple others who said it was really bad. So again, I'm sure there's some places.
Cool.
Yeah, but the long and short of it, be as good as you possibly can and make as many friends as you can, and you'll be just as old probably as I was if you make it. I know people who are, like I said, much older than you who got into junior levels at a much older, later age. Okay.
Cool. Thank you so much. That was very helpful.
Yeah. So just don't let any of that kind of stuff get to you. I think I added too much detail. I prefer the previous drawing. Yeah, I was just painting because I want to make up some time. Here, I'll just do another one. Any other questions?
So this is really real quick. What's this junior stuff all about? Like, is there a designated place for younger people in?
No, so like what he was talking about was just like junior level, and the difference between junior and senior level is not literally by age; it's by experience. So I would be considered a senior because I've been working in the industry for a long time. So I would ask for that title, but it doesn't necessarily mean anything in terms of work. When I was at Sony, I was a junior level, but I was working on big concepts, you know. So it most likely, if you're junior level, you might work on stuff that the senior levels might not want to work on. Maybe that's like the only real difference. Like you're the one that's going to draw a lot of crates and they're not. But it's still important, you know. It's not like and you also may get paid less, which again is justifiable if you're starting out, you know. It's reasonable, but it's not like the junior level sit in a different part of the room, you know, drinking their juice boxes, you know. And then the senior level have like, you know, like recliner chairs, and they have they take their pills every 5 hours. You know, like everybody's in the same room.
Okay.
You understand?
Yeah, but I guess that then you get like the more mechanic and like not so. I mean, you get as a junior then like jobs or tasks that are suitable for maybe like lesser skill or like to improve. I
Most
don't know.
likely. But
Okay.
even then, I don't think that's entirely accurate. Because I've
Okay.
worked with junior level artists where they were called junior, but they were badass. Okay,
Uh-huh.
they were better
Okay.
than
Okay.
me.
Okay.
Even some of them are better than me. Even
Mm-hmm.
so it's just not like that's what I'm trying to say. It's not cut and dry that simple. Like
Okay. Okay.
there's some studios that most likely you'll have that separation of like seniors draw all the cool, fun, like high level stuff, right? And then you
Mm-hmm.
have the juniors do all of the the crates and props, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But there's also the instance which I see more often, which is people who do senior level stuff and junior level stuff. They do the same stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, especially if the junior level has been or junior artist has been there for a while and has proven their value.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
Then
Yeah.
then
Absolutely.
you'll see. Then you'll see a real. Um, you'll see less separation. I mean, that's what I'm trying to say. You'll see more.
Mhm.
Um, like everyone's working for the
Yeah.
greater good kind of thing.
Yeah. It was just I had never heard that like this junior level stuff, so that's what I was asking. But my real question was, um, I really like that when someone like in the last pic was that like rendered for you? Yes, or like it
Oh,
was, right?
yeah, it's definitely rendered a little bit more, but it's
Okay,
loo-
but
looser.
but because you have also like places where it's much rougher. It's not like super refined because there's no need for it, right?
Yeah, and so
So
I generally like incredibly refined artwork, and when I paint, I generally do. Um, I just take my paintings as far as I can within the hour. And so personally, I love to look at really, stylized or not stylized, but more sketchy, like incomplete work, I guess, is
yeah.
impressionistic work. But I know that's not the reality. There's not that many studios who do that.
Okay.
Okay.
So
It's just
okay,
not
okay.
reality. And so,
So
I'll go ahead and say what you're going to say.
no, that would you say that your last sketch would it be like um not quality but would it be enough rendered for a studio to like to submit this design, or
Oh yeah,
would you have to,
that to me is like a thumbnail.
which is what we are aiming for, right?
When
Or
you
no?
guys were doing your iterations and thumbnails, that's what you should aim for. Yes.
Okay, so is it okay if like I go so far with the detail, like because I like this roughness that's like inherent to it,
Yeah, I
because
got it.
I feel like when I try to like overdo it, like the painting goes absolutely like crappy, because then it's like everything like super like mushy, and like everything is like that you feel
Yeah.
that
So
it's not
I can answer this question before you get too much into it. Um, so the reason why I advise against your intuition
Mhm.
is exactly what you're explaining right now, is that you're not good at it.
Okay, 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 okay,
So you don't really have a strong
okay, okay, okay.
argument, right? Like it's like if you were to say like if you played Smash Brothers like one time and you get destroyed at Smash Brothers by like a pro, okay?
Mhm.
And you're just like, oh, I don't like Smash Brothers. Smash Brothers is a stupid game. You see how that's
Okay.
kind of silly, right? Because
Yeah,
well,
yeah,
you
yeah.
haven't really played enough to really, and
Mhm.
you went against someone who's incredibly better than you. You know, it's not the best example. And objectively speaking, you're wrong. This game is really good because if it wasn't, then it wouldn't be so popular, right? And
Okay, okay,
so,
okay.
so like I always warn people from that. Like, don't think, oh, I like this because it's, you know, it's
Okay.
what I prefer. You might actually be saying, I like it because it's easier to do.
Okay, okay.
And
Yeah,
and
you're right.
and you want to be very cautious of that, right?
Oh man, yeah.
Because watch,
Okay.
I'll show you something that you'd be like, oh yeah,
Oh,
I
oh
wish
yeah, yeah.
I wish I could paint like that,
Yeah,
right? Like
I know.
you say right now, like,
Yeah,
oh man, I wish I could paint like loose. And
I know him.
yeah, of course you do. Most any artist who's like really like taking concept art seriously should know who this person is. But if you don't, I mean, look at this. He doesn't paint his stuff loose, so I guess his stuff's garbage, right?
No, 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 no,
Right? Like
absolutely
there's clearly like he is in a league of his own.
not.
You understand? Oh, but look, those earrings though, he didn't paint them. I knew it. I can go ahead and paint super sketchy now. Right? That what I call that is pandering to the lowest common denominator, right? But you have to
Okay.
also
Yeah.
realize I did this sketch in like less than 15 to 20
Yeah,
minutes.
I know, I know, I know.
So you're also not being realistic. You're like, wait a minute, like AJ's sketches are more finished than my most finished paintings, right? And that's because I have finished paintings before, and I know what I need, like the very minimum amount of effort that I need to have something look close to
Okay.
finish.
Mhm.
And you could only obtain that skill by actually painting to some sort of finish.
Okay.
And the reason why your
So,
stuff is muddy and kind of shitty is because you rarely do it. You don't understand
okay.
what things look like. You just don't. And because if
Mhm.
you did, you wouldn't make that mistake. You would paint it more clearly. In fact, the reason why I said I don't like the new version, not because I didn't
It's be-
render, because I added way too much shit. Like I added more detail, right?
yeah,
It's not that
yeah.
it's more polished. It's not more polished. I was just adding way too many lines. Okay. I preferred that where it was right here. Like, so this is done. I call this done. And if I were to render this more, then the strategy would be to clarify the legs, the skirt, and just make it more blended,
Okay. Mhm.
right? And then add more materials.
Mhm.
And the way you want to think about this is just like that. Like you want to think, am I saying that I prefer this thing because it's actually preferable, or do I prefer it because I suck? You know? And
Yeah,
once
yeah.
you do that, then you're like, oh, okay, well then obviously I'm biased because I'm not really good yet. You know?
Yeah,
Once you
yeah.
become really good and you're like an outstanding, photorealistic renderer or someone that comes close to that, right?
Mhm.
Like Evan, we were talking about Evan earlier, right? Like Evan's a good person that we can say because if you look, he has examples of him rendering to completion, and it's clear to me that he doesn't prefer that, right? But he's done it, and you can tell
Yeah.
he does it by the quality of his work,
Okay.
you know. So he
Yeah.
doesn't prefer to do that. That's absolutely fine, you know.
Yeah.
There's no like to me that's where your opinion becomes more strengthened if you decide to be more loose is if you've tried the other process before. And this is
Mhm.
including someone who might actually be really good at stylized stuff and has never done realistic rendering.
Mhm.
But you'll find that most of them have dabbled in it at some level at some point in their career.
Okay.
I haven't met an artist who has done like stylized work who's never tried to do a little bit more realistic.
Mhm.
Okay.
Mhm.
Just like I choose more realistic, even though I've experimented with more stylized stuff. Okay,
Mhm.
this is a choice.
Yeah, and I mean, I also understand that if you want to do like stylized, that your foundations of what the real thing looks like have to be like really, really strong so that you can abstract them in the right way, right?
Yeah, you can't get away from it. Absolutely, doesn't matter. And like Glenn Keane, did this great talk, and he talked about it. And he was like, and Glenn Keane, if you don't know, is like pretty much the most epic Disney animator of all time. He animated all of our favorite Disney movies,
Uh-huh.
and he was talking about how when he first started, and he worked at Disney, I think, um, he felt really confident. He felt like he knew how to do shit. And then I don't know where he saw, but somewhere along the line, someone was doing like life drawing, and then he went to do life drawing too. And he found himself doing life drawing in a way where he was drawing the characters in a style, right? They had style to them.
Mhm.
It wasn't realistic. It didn't look like the people. And he realized, like, holy shit, I can't even draw what's in front of me. I have to fake it.
Uh-huh.
And he's like, this is incredibly troubling. And so he spent a lot of time in libraries because there was no internet. and and so he had to go in libraries, and he found books, anatomy books, and just did tons of studies. And if you ever watch Glenn Keane, when he did Tarzan, and he brought it up because he was talking about Tarzan, he's like, so when it came to do Tarzan, he's like, I was a little rusty with my anatomy, but I had that foundation there. And so all I had to do was rekindle that fire. And
Mhm.
then I was able to animate Tarzan really effectively because of that strong background,
Mhm.
you know?
Yeah, I think Tarzan is my favorite movie from Disney from these like
Yeah.
2000s.
But you hear my point though? Like he
Yeah, yeah,
basically was
yeah.
he basically was like, yo, I don't know how to draw people.
Mhm.
Even though he was already a Disney animator and he already had some skill, he had to practice how to draw naked people. You know?
Yeah. I'm starting to realize how difficult it is to not fall in the trap of your of yourself.
Yeah, you have to remember, um, your brain is always on
Yeah. Yeah.
conservation, energy conservation mode. Always, even the most, even the most hardworking motherfuckers out there are constantly battling with this. Okay,
Mhm.
it is constantly in energy conservation mode. You know how in your computer you could put it on like performance
Yeah.
mode or like power saving mode, and
Yeah.
you have a choice, right? You could make, well, I don't give a fuck. My computer can catch on fire. Let's put it on performance mode right now. You know,
Mhm.
and then your computer's like, like just like, oh shit, fire everything.
Yeah.
Your brain has no choice. It stays locked in power. It's biology. It's just how we've evolved. It makes
Mhm.
perfect sense, man. Right?
Yeah,
Why
sure.
we should
Absolutely.
conserve energy, right?
Yeah.
Because it's extremely dangerous if we lived out in the wild to be constantly changing our environment, changing our circumstances, right?
Mhm.
It's incredibly dangerous, you know? And the brain's
Yeah.
like, dude, what are you doing? Go back home. Like, let's just stay there and just keep eating fucking bananas and keep singing on the same branches that we're used to, you know?
Yeah.
It makes sense, but that's back when we were apes in the tree, and we're not that anymore. And
Yeah,
so
but
we live in modern society,
Mhm.
and so our brains, technology has advanced much faster than our brains' ability to evolve. So it still has this like power conservation mode on, right? And it's just
Mhm.
like, yo, okay, check it out. I know you want to go practice, but I'd rather us play Angry Birds, you know? Because
Yeah.
Angry Birds is so much more fun, and like we don't have to think, we don't have to do nothing. It's really amazing, And then when you think about like when you have to do like a hard task, like a render a full painting, your brain's
Yeah.
like, yeah, but dude, Picasso, remember? Picasso used to draw shitty drawings, and look, he was Picasso. We're fine. We're fine. But
Yeah, but
reality is Picasso was an outlier again,
yeah.
and he too was an amazing artist. He actually knew how to paint
Yeah. I
amazing.
mean, I when I was younger, I was like, I like zero respect from Picasso. Like, oh, I hate this cubism. And then someone showed me like his drawing from when he was like 16, like realistic and naturalistic stuff, and I was like, oh shit,
Yep.
because they were like really really good.
Yeah, he's pretty good artist, man. And so, yeah, I always try to put you guys in a thought process that allows you to freaking, you know what I mean? To allow you to progress.
Yeah.
You have to fight that intuition. And your brain's not wrong, man. Your brain's looking out for you, dude. It's trying to keep you healthy. Okay. But the problem is that the frontal cortex is the smarter part of your brain, the one that's aware of a lot of the stuff that we're talking about. Like, I'm telling you all this, and you're like, yeah, duh. That's your frontal cortex talking. Okay. That's your frontal cortex saying, yeah, man, of course. But it doesn't matter if you leave this class and you go back to doing bad. You've
Yeah.
just proven to yourself that your frontal cortex is just all talk, no walk. Okay.
Yeah.
And so you have to prove it by demonstration. You can't just And here's another frame of thinking that's helpful for all of you guys. Oh yeah, by the way, I have worked for ArenaNet. Anyways, moving on. What I would give as advice to all of you, okay, is try to find reasons to why you should be better, like why you should practice. Like, find reasons why you should practice more instead of finding reasons why you should practice less. Make sense? So saying stuff like earlier, that was asked, like, does age matter? Instead of asking questions like that, like say, like, who are the role models that I can look up to who are much older when they got into industry, so I can see how they did it and follow their stride. Does that make sense? Instead of saying, and going back to the age stuff, right? Not to put you back on the spot. I think it was Jared who asked that question, right? Which would be like, well, I heard that it's not. I heard that there's a barrier. Whether that's true or not, that's counterproductive thinking. You wanna switch that, guys. You wanna switch it to, well, are there examples? If so, can I follow their lead or ask them how they did it or what their insight would be? Which you did, by the way. You did ask me, right? But I'm just saying, just keep thinking on how to move forward, like how to take the next step forward instead of how to stay still or take steps back, right?
Yeah.
You guys want to be the examples of, I thought that I was trapped living in my farm city, but I got the fuck out, right? Where your neighbor who lives in that farm city was like, there's no way to get the fuck out. Both of you guys are right, but one of you made a better circumstance for yourself. Whatever reality you pose for yourself is most likely going to be true for you. Don't get me wrong, there's people that have harder circumstances, and I always keep that in mind whenever I give this advice. But I generally feel safe telling you guys this kind of more harder truths, because you guys all paid $500 to pay for this class, right? You guys all have access to the internet because this class is completely entirely online, so there's no doubt about that, right?
Yeah, a computer and
you guys have computer, you guys have Photoshop, so you guys are amongst the wealthiest people on this planet. You might not feel that way, but trust me, if you look at the numbers, you guys are the wealthiest.
Yeah, sure.
Let's see how many people own. How many people have a computer? Not the U.S. According to a report by Forest Research, there were over 1 billion PCs in use worldwide by the end of 2008. And with PC adoption merging, it'd be more than 2 billion. Okay. So remember how I said we're in the minority? It seems to be true even for 2015 predictions, because there's about almost 8. We're getting closer to 8 billion. We've got 8 billion people on this planet. So
it's already 8?
That's like a quarter of the world's population. Let's see, maybe I'm wrong. But it's still roughly a quarter. 7 billion is not what I'm looking for. Looking for 7.6 billion. So yeah, we're over. Whoa. We're on the rounded up now. So we're getting closer. So that means that we're like almost a quarter of a billion, or a quarter of the world's population has access to a computer. Now, it doesn't mean a good computer, just a computer at all. Okay? They could be still running on Windows XP. You get my point? So I feel very safe to say that you guys are incredibly privileged, and you do not have it as bad as you might think. Okay?
Yeah.
You guys are very fortunate. Even if you work full-time jobs, you know, some people don't even have jobs. If you're getting paid more than, like, I think it's $7, like, and you could do the conversion. I think in between it's $7 or $8, and this is like on average around the world. If in America, $7 or $8, depending on where you live, right? And I'm thinking the same is true in worldwide, but on average, you make about $8 or more at your job, especially if it's like a job that's not that like a service job or something like that. Like if you answer phone calls all day, right? Or any kind of job in general, right? If you're making about $8 an hour, you're amongst the wealthiest people on this planet. It's just true. It doesn't feel like it, right? Like you feel like, well, I live in like a trailer park. Like, you know, I only have one room and one toilet, like one working toilet. You know, my internet's really shitty, all that stuff. Yeah, there are people that don't have anything. They literally have houses in the middle of the ocean, and that's all they have. Like, let me show you. Like, saw that in the Philippines. Ocean homes in Philippines. This might not be the right search. It's gonna show me like these epic homes. You're like, what? You said it was garbage. It looks amazing. Yeah, see, this is what I thought was gonna happen. Yeah, you liar. Like, I want that. No, it's more like this. This is what I was thinking about. Right? Like literally like that. And they like fish and get their fruits and vegetables from the forest. You know. At this stage, there might be enough of a contrast that they might actually be happy and sustainable.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
I think these guys.
They don't have societal. Like, see, this is the kind of shit I'm talking about. They don't have societal constraints, so they don't know what they're missing. So
I think these guys are far more happier than most of the average. Like,
that's absolutely true. I think there's some truth to that. But this is what I'm saying. Like, this is their home, okay? And so, there might be some envy because of how simplistic their life is, right? But there is some truth to what you're saying, and this is kind of what causes depression. It's not so much that people don't have access to amazing things; it's that they have they are witness to what they can have access to, and they don't have access to it. That's probably the difference, right? Like if you are a poor kid living in Compton, right? You know you can live in a bigger house. You know that there's nicer places and things you can have. And so that envy becomes greater, you know? But if you're like a village person has no concept of the internet, like you don't know that concept art exists. You don't know that one of the biggest movies of all time is about to come out next month or this month, I think. You know, Avengers Infinity War. Like, you're like, what? Avengers what? You know? Like, you might be fine. You might be a happy life. Right? I think you're right. I think there's like a little bit of a teetering point, okay?
Yeah.
But hopefully you understand my point. Most of you guys are very privileged. You guys have a lot of access, so take advantage of that. You know, and you'll see you'll make a better life for yourself soon enough. All right, I'll take one more question and then I'm gonna get going. Go hang out with my family. No, I'll stop painting too. The screen hasn't frozen. I'm done painting.
Hello.
What's up, dude?
So a random question that has absolutely nothing to do with the price of eggs.
Price of eggs? What?
So can you name a few of your favorite computer games at the moment, or games in general? What vibe you like?
Oh yeah, sure. So my favorite game that I played recently is a mobile game. It's Tomb Raider Go. I very rarely beat games to completion. In that game, I beat to completion. I love that game. Another favorite game of mine that I play pretty consistently is another mobile game. It's called Clash Royale. The last PC game that I played that I loved immensely was Overwatch. That was a great game, but I stopped playing it. And then overall, my favorite all-time game would be the Uncharted series. Like all of the Uncharted games, I love them. And then my favorite game of all time would be Portal 2. Portal
Okay.
2 is probably my.
My direction, I can see why.
I think Portal 2 is amazing. I think it's like everything that I love in a game. It's like beautifully made, like beautiful looking, very consistent art style, right? It has an immersive narrative. It's hilarious. It has one of the best game mechanics I've ever seen, where you teleport from place to place, right? It's beautiful. It's really great. There's another one that I want to play where it plays with perspective, where you take some object and then when you grab it and you move it, and if you drop it, it actually scales up to what it may perceive to be. It's really fascinating. I'm like, what? That's dope. So you can take like a building that looks like it's a building that is enormous, but you grab it with like your two fingers. You know how you do that with your fingers to make it look small in your fingers?
Yeah.
And then you grab it knowing that it's like miles away, and then you bring it close to you, like put it on top of a table, and you drop it, then it's as small as it should be to fit on the table. It's really cool. So I haven't played that game, but I'm having a feeling that I love that game a lot for the same reason I love Portal. And then on top of that, all the good looks, great game mechanic. It's great game design. It's the kind of game that when you play it, it makes you feel smart, and that's by design. You understand what I'm saying when I say that? Like, it's not an accident. They know, they have a strong intuition that you are going to feel this way based off of how they designed the puzzles. And the fact that I know that that's true makes it even more amazing, right? Like, that's fucking awesome. And that's why this is probably my favorite game of all time. It's simple, it's short, it's makes you feel like you're incredibly smart when you do it. The multiplayer version of it was fucking amazing. I love it. And so, cool. Yeah, I like action/puzzle games that have a lot of puzzles, games that have a lot of action.
The reason I ask is because I saw on one of the tutorials on your Robotpencil site, you had a League of Legends sign. So I was just wondering if you.
Oh yeah, I like League of Legends. Yeah, League of Legends is great. Okay. Yeah, I'm a gamer, dude. I like a lot of games. There's lots of games. There's not too many games that I don't like. You know.
Cool. Yeah.
Those are the kind of games that I like. StarCraft is the kind of game that I used to play a lot. League of Legends, yeah. Any game that requires like a lot of mental fortitude, like I'm a big fan of. Like, it requires you to, like, heavily skill based. I love it.
Yeah.
You know, I don't like, to give you an example I don't like of a game I don't like. I don't like games like Skyrim. Okay, and I know that my opinion is very unpopular. And that's why it's an opinion. It's not a fact. It's a very popular game. Okay, it's really well received. But those types of games bore the fuck out of me. Like, I don't care to travel a world of someone else's imagination. Okay, and I don't care about like mindlessly grinding. This is one of the reasons why I stopped playing World of Warcraft, for the same reasons. I used to play that
hate game. Warframe.
I played that game. Well, no, Warframe has skill based, doesn't it? Like, you can move around, jump, and shoot and shit like that. Like,
I suppose, yeah.
Not like that. Like, Skyrim's not like that. Like, there's no opponents. Okay. See, in World of Warcraft, I got past all the mindless grinding and mindless bullshit because I can hunt people. And that is always skill based. You get it? And then once they started introducing battlegrounds, and it was just really bad, the first incarnations of it, it was really political. Like, if you're in a guild, then you had access to all the good stuff. If you weren't, then you were fucked. It was really bad. And I wasn't in a guild, so I was fucked. And then they got rid of world PvP, which I loved. I love the spontaneousness of just like, you're just hunting like some turtles, and then all of a sudden some player comes in a taxi for no reason, just to greet you. I love it, and that thrill of just like, oh shit, I'm being hunted, you know. Versus what like a game like Skyrim. Like I don't care if I'm really good at leatherworking and I can make my own hats. Like I don't give a fuck, dude. If I'm going to spend my time getting good at a skill, you know, I'm gonna do it outside of a game, right? Like become better at painting or become a programmer, because that's like real life grinding, and you benefit from that. But in a game, I like the difference is that there's a real challenge of competition between the two people, or puzzle solving is its own self reward. It makes you feel so smart, like you've overcome a challenge, like a real challenge. Not that if I keep killing the wolf 100 million times, that I get now 100 million time wolf level up.
Yeah.
Right. There's a spoof of this. There's a spoof of this type of game. They're called idle games. Have you heard of them? I'll show you them. Idle games are inherently hilariously fun because they do exactly the thing that I just pointed out. So hopefully this loads. Oh my god, so much ads. I do not want to sign up. So all you got to do is just click. That's it. It's like an RPG game. Or what is there to load? There's an RPG game where all you do is click. See, click. I mean, it's in the title. Clicker Heroes. If you want to play my favorite version of this type of game, it's Bitcoin Billionaire. All right. So all you got to do is click. See? Do damage. Yeah. I'm going to turn off this sound. See? All you do is click.
You should be drawing, Anthony.
This is the whole game. And you saw 32 million people play this game.
Yeah.
See? And okay, let's like hire some more. Let's level up. Yes, now I'm doing more damage, dude. See, I was doing 1 damage, now I'm doing 2 damage. Let's level up again. Hell yeah. Now I'm doing 3 damage. This is Skyrim in a nutshell. Just better graphics, right? With more buttons to press, right? And the only redeeming factor is that it has a story in it, right? But the stories aren't nearly as compelling as something like Uncharted, you know? Or like Last of Us or any of these kinds of games. See? That's it. Now I'm doing 4 damage. Damn, dude, the rewards. Now these things are dying after I hit them 2 or 3 times. Hell yeah. Let's do it. Let's go up to bam, 5. Now only hitting them once. Bam. Look, they don't have a chance. Level up. Now I'm gonna hit him once. Fuck yeah, look at this. These guys don't have they can't even last for 1 second.
You seem like a Plants vs. Zombies kind of guy.
Oh yeah, I like that game too. See, I can go to level 2 where the mobs are harder. Fuck yeah, get more experience. Yeah, because I can do it now. Let's level up. Let's level up again. Let's get the coins. Yeah. Yeah. Fuck yeah. Anyways. And trust me, that's the whole game. There's more to it, but essentially all you do is click and level up. And that's when I see Skyrim, that's what I see. I hated it. Now I know my opinion is not of the popular opinion, so that's why I will state clearly it's my opinion. It's not that Skyrim is actually a bad game. Okay, I think that it is a good game. It does a lot of things right, and people love it. You know, but that's my position. Yeah, because I've been clicking on that shit. I don't feel there's any purpose, and so I'm like, if I'm gonna click shit all day, I'm gonna click stuff like my Wacom pen to my tablet as I'm trying to learn how to paint, you know? Because it's also at some levels mindless, but it leads you to have better skill, you know? And so, anyways, like I'd rather program, like learn how to program than play that stuff. So, all right.
Cool,
Anyone,
man.
anyone else have one last question? I can take one more question because that wasn't really art related.
I have one question if no one else wants to ask something. So
Yeah, we'll take this one regardless.
shall I ask?
You shall. I allow.
Okay. So I had this one saved for another Q&A, but I'll just go with it. What is your opinion on art schools and such?
Art schools?
Yeah, like a college for art where you are taught about it.
Another day. Oh, what the computer's going slow. Another day, another demo. Have a good. And then let's do the photo. So, what I feel about art schools is pretty simple. They're all trash. All right. See you guys later. Just kidding. So education in general has a huge problem. Okay. And art school is no exception to this. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So there are good art schools out there that teach you good skills. Like I think Art Center does that, but it's really expensive.
Yeah, that's
Laguna. There's some other ones. LCAT is pretty good, I think. But they're just too expensive, meaning that what they're teaching is not valued at that cost.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Not to say that what they are teaching does not have value. It's just that value is too high. But the problem with education in general, and this is mostly for the Western world and even the Eastern, yeah, maybe even more so Eastern, but is that a lot of schools, especially in America, are driven by the wrong incentives.
Mm-hmm. What do you mean by that?
This is not unique to just America too. This is elsewhere, but America sees it the worst. So you would think that going to school, or if you're in a school, your incentive is to have your students leave with better work, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because the logic is that if my students leave with better work, then people will promote my classes more or my school more, right? And I could show that I have some real street cred,
Mm-hmm.
So you would think that would be the standard. But the way that the privatized school sector works is that it focuses on attendance as its main incentive. Meaning that it doesn't matter if you graduate or not, as long as you're here paying the bills. Attendance is the biggest factor for why schools kind of do a terrible job, because you can get people to I can make a class for, let's say, $500, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then open it up to hundreds of students to sign up, right? I cap it because I don't want to have that many students, right? But I could easily done it, make tons of money, right? And then just be like, and still probably have some value, or people still would leave thinking they got some really good value out of the class. In fact, I have a strategy that I'm planning to do potentially in the next few months that makes my classes more accessible, which is instead of doing 2 classes a week, which would be 1 class a week, and it would only be a Q&A class, and just make better lecturer courses. Sorry.
Yeah.
Better lectures, like videos, that would be all you'd need to follow along, right?
Yeah.
And then the Q&A is just a Q&A, and then the class could be like $100, and it could be an 8-week course, and we can meet up every 2 hours once a week. That would be worth my time and investment, and the value would justify the course. Okay,
Mhm.
because at that level, the incentive is not about making the students have high quality work. It's the incentive is having more accessibility to more people,
Mhm.
because a lot of people can't afford the $500.
Yeah,
Okay, but the difference is that that makes sense. You hear that, you're like, oh yeah, sounds reasonable.
it does.
But like, well, that's my wife. Let me answer this quickly.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna end this question or answer. Um, so the incentive, like I was saying, makes sense. There's no foul play here. But the
Yeah.
problem is that what you just heard, like once a week, you know, a lot more students. But the difference would be then I would if I was a regular school, like one of these colleges, I would say, oh, and the price tag is $1,000. See, that's the part that I'm like, wait a minute, no, it's not. This shit's not worth $1,000. Do you see my point?
Yeah.
But I get why they do it because they have a lot of employees. They have to live up to certain standards of living for their company. I get it, man. You know, that's why I think models like online schools is going to be the future, right? Because it's much more accessible, cheaper,
Yeah.
and better.
Yeah.
And so education in general, that's one of the problems. Is attendance is one of the highest factors for. Um, it's one of the biggest incentives. And then when you have attendance be the biggest incentive, then you have a lot of attendance. Okay. Well, then you have classes like 30, 40 students and only one teacher. That's also very unreasonable. Like one teacher, I could barely teach 15 students in under 3 hours. That's why I never go beyond 15. I used to do 15 all the time. I stopped. I did it like recently. I was like, never again. So I brought down my class to 8 people at max.
Mhm.
6 to 8 people. Because that way I can really critique without being in a hurry. That's why I can really like talk to every single person as much as I can, answer questions as often as I can, do paint overs, etc., etc. You know,
Mhm.
and to bring true value. And so, yeah. Now imagine if I had like 15 more or 25 more students in this class, guys. Right? It's just there's no way.
Yeah, that'd be chaos.
Yeah, the class will have to be longer, and that's the point. In some of these schools, and this is not just for colleges. This is also for like you know public school. Public school suffers from the same problem. See, what public school needs is more money because public school is paid by the government. So the government needs to give these schools a lot more money so that they can have 2 to 3 teachers in these schools teaching. People are looking for jobs, man, and pay teachers more money to make it a lucrative, high-paying job and have some quality there. Then you make your people smarter. You're all
Yeah.
right. Make school shorter too. There's no reason for school to be 8 hours long. You're teaching the wrong message. You know,
Yeah.
I think there's schools in Denmark that have like
Yeah.
3 hour recesses, and they have fucking some of the
In
smartest people in the world.
in a lot of countries of Northern Europe, I think they are like the farthest. Like they've got one of the best education systems because like the teachers are like the same as a doctor. It's like high prestige and a really difficult job to get. And but I mean, it's like super logic because they are investing in the coming generations, which is going to be the future of the country, which is something that little
Yeah.
country.
And we don't do that here in America. That's why we have Donald Trump as our president. Enough people thought that he was fucking good. And there's a lot of people who believe in our country that the earth is flat. That is evidence of a failed education system. That's evidence. And so yeah, it's not good. But I'd say focus all your studies online. It's cheaper. And if you do want to pay for like an in-person school, go to trade school like places where you will learn from instructors that you know will teach you value.
Yeah.
Don't go to school and hope that will happen. Go to a place where you know that will happen. Okay, that's where your
Yeah.
money is best spent. All right, cool. All right, guys, gotta go. Thanks again.
Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah, some countries don't want smart people. That's absolutely true. All right. Latest, guys. Have a great weekend. This is the final week coming up, so work your asses off as best you can, and I'll talk to you guys next week. Later.
See you.
Thank you for watching this video. I appreciate it. Please subscribe to watch more in the future. If you like the video, I would appreciate a thumbs up. If you like this content, you can go to my website, robotpencil.net, where you can find mentorships, tutorials, and a Patreon to get more exclusive content. Thanks again, and I'll see you guys in my next videos.